Dear friends, Namaskar. This is our fourth video in English on the YouTube channel in which we are going to discuss a very important issue related to grassroots democracy concerning partyless democracy or politics as expounded by M.N. Roy in his book Politics, Power and Parties. This book offers a critique of contemporary political systems and the bold outlines of a theory of grassroots democracy based on his rare combination uh, of experience and knowledge of ancient and modern thought, both Eastern and Western. His theory of grassroots democracy was one aspect of the philosophy of radical democracy, which he evolved during the last decade of his life. I am Mahipal Singh from Indian Renaissance Institute, and we are going to discuss why it is necessary to have a partyless democracy for a democracy to be really a representative democracy. The kind of party based political system that we have today may, in theory, be a representative democracy because the legislative assembly members or the members of parliament who make laws and run the government are elected by the people. But how far they represent or continue to represent the will of the people who elect them needs to be examined a bit seriously. Democracy, in theory, means a government of the people and by the people, and it is supposed to work for the welfare of the people in accordance with their will, and election is supposed to be the expression of their will. Therefore, election becomes the focal point in a democratic system. As such, winning the elections and ruling the people becomes the most important thing for the people who want to rule the country and the people. In a party based system of democracy, the people who want to govern or rule become members of a political party. Then they seek party tickets for contesting elections. For getting these party tickets, the candidates either have to dole out huge amounts of money to those party leaders who distribute these tickets or manage to get their favors to get these election tickets. Spending huge amounts of money for winning these elections, for managing the voters, conducting the rallies, and managing the election booths and agents, etc., may be very important. But that comes second. The first thing is getting the tickets. The candidates know well that without the blessings and favors of the party bosses or supremos, as they are called these days, it is impossible to get these tickets. And even if they succeed in getting the tickets and also winning the elections, they know well that next time also they would need the same favors of the party bosses for getting the election tickets. It is not their work or accountability towards the voters who elect them which would get them the tickets next time, however good their work may have been, but their faithfulness to those party bosses who gave them the tickets. Their remaining accountable to the ticket distributing leaders of their parties becomes their most important work after winning the elections. They know that they can conveniently ignore their voters for 5 years and yet get re-elected the next time by using the money and muscle power and managing the election by managing the electoral rolls, the EVMs, and the administrative machinery, most of which is done for them by their party, which is in power and in a position to do all this, they, as they did in Delhi, Haryana, and Maharashtra Assembly elections held recently, and also the parliamentary elections held in 2024. In some of the recently held elections during the BJP or the NDA regime led by Narendra Modi, we have seen how the elections are manipulated in favor of the ruling party. The appointment of the election commissioners is manipulated as the Chief Justice of India has been removed from the selection committee of the election commissioners against the ruling of the Constitution Bench of the Supreme Court of India, and a cabinet minister has been put in his place besides himself and the leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha. It obviously gives the government the decisive majority of 2 to 1, and it can always have the election commissioners of its choice. Such election commissioners are bound to feel obliged to the government or the ruling party and are surely going to favor the prime minister and the ministers who come from the ruling party in the conduct of elections. In such a situation, it is not difficult to understand the overwhelming support of the former Chief Election Commissioner, Mr. Rajiv Kumar, to the ruling BJP in getting the whole electoral machinery work for its electoral victory, in spite of the very high resentment of the voters against the ruling BJP as reflected during the poll campaigns. Obviously, the election results, particularly in 3 assembly elections, do not reflect the will of the people. But these election results do reflect how the party-based elections can manipulate the electoral process to defeat the will of the people and deprive them of their true representation in the governance of the country. M.N. Roy could foresee these basic flaws in the party-based electoral process as early as 1944 when he prepared the draft constitution for Free India. In that draft, he presented an alternative to this system based on people's committees, selecting their own candidates from amongst themselves who would be accountable to them and not to some party bosses, and who would be liable to recall if they do not work according to their wishes and directions. Although the phrase political party does not find any mention in the Indian constitution also, yet it is the most powerful institution which controls the whole system of democracy and governance. The purpose of parties is to capture power and retain it as long as they can do so, and adopt every legitimate or illegitimate means to do so. The party in power takes advantage of their present position to rig the next election. Since elections are central to attaining power, the party system controls not only the legislature and the executive, but even the judiciary, by influencing it through the political power of making appointment to places of power, including the appointment of Supreme Court and High Court judges, besides appointment of state governors and other chairmen and members of various statutory institutions. Desired judgments are obtained, even in the Supreme Court, through obliging and committed judges, as they are called, who are paid back through nominations to the Rajya Sabha as governors or chairmen of statutory institutions as after retirement benefits. We have seen some such nominations in the recent times. The ruling BJP also collected thousands of crores of rupees by instituting the scheme of electoral bonds to facilitate donations to political parties. It also misused the central agencies like the Enforcement Directorate, the Central Bureau of Investigation, and the Income Tax Department for extorting money from industrialists and big businessmen as donations by pressurizing them, and used the money thus collected for influencing the voters and also the media houses who have become their poll campaigners and voter influencers. It is because of the institution of political parties that big money has entered elections, which have become a multi crore affair. We know that political parties have established themselves in the electoral politics as deep rooted and necessary institutions, though evil, through the passing of time, not only in India but elsewhere in the world also. But it is also true that this very system has also deprived the people of their sovereign power, though theoretically the sovereignty still belongs to them. The only system through which they can reclaim it and reassert themselves is through the abolition of the party system and by adopting the People's Committee system for introducing grassroots democracy as suggested by M.N. Roy. What Roy suggested long ago may still seem to be mere philosophical theory, but we must not fail to appreciate the fact that all revolutionary changes have had their beginnings in philosophical utopias before becoming a reality. In fact, the great socialist leader Sri Jayaprakash Narayan was very much impressed with Roy's idea of people's committees and wanted to discuss further details of the plan with Roy. But before they could meet again, Roy had breathed his last. Reflecting on party-based politics in an article titled Politics Without Party, published in The Radical Humanist in 1949, Roy wrote, "No matter whatever may be the name, a political party is formed with the sole object of capturing control of the state sooner or later. The object is justified with the argument that only in an office a party can put its program into practice. Therefore, by adopting one of the Indian terms for its name, a political organization does not cease to be a party. That is to say, only a part of the people or the class of the community it claims to represent. Otherwise, there would be no sense in the idea of representation, since by its very nature, a party is bound to be exclusive, a minority organization. Party politics cannot be democratic politics in the true sense of the term. Political practice is monopolized by a minority of professional politicians, and the bulk of the community are given no place in the practice. They are to follow one party or the other. Democracy, therefore, can never be practiced through the intermediary of party politics, which, by its very nature, reduces the demos to the status of camp followers. Obviously, the rejection of the party politics means a resolution to practice politics on a much wider field so that the entire people may actively participate in it. Under the party system, the people can do no more than vote for this or that candidate who is nominated by respective parties. Political practice cannot be truly democratized unless the people can nominate as well as vote for a candidate. It goes without saying that this changeover cannot take place from today to tomorrow, nor will an entire country discard the old practice and adopt the new one all at once. It will be a process, and the process itself will be uneven. The changeover from party politics to democratic politics will be brought about gradually by raising the intellectual level of the people, by quickening their sense of self respect and self reliance. Therefore, democracy is not possible without education, M.N. Roy wrote. He also said civil liberties will have a greater chance of survival so long as several parties alternate in power or contend for power and the control of the state by one party claiming to be the sole custodian of political interest is antagonistic to democracy. Friends, for details of Roy's views on this topic, you may read the book Politics, Power and Parties, which is available at our website www.indianrenaissanceinstitute.com, along with his other books at the Radical Humanist page. Thank you. Bye.